Greetings. This is Justin Allen, the Elite Nurse Practitioner. Welcome to the Elite Nurse Practitioner Show, a podcast dedicated to nurse practitioner entrepreneurism and achieving financial freedom, where I talk directly with nurse practitioners who need help. Listen up, our market is saturated. Jobs can be scarce. We are underpaid. We are undervalued. We are taken advantage of by the sharks within the healthcare system, and frankly, screw that. Sick of it, and it's time for a change. And listen, I'm here to help make that happen. We are powerful. We can forge a path where we are in control of our career and ultimately our financial and personal well-being. You do not need to submit to healthcare administrators and your doctor overlords. You do not have to take the measly salary. You do not have to work 50 to 60 hours a week. There is a different way, and I'm here to show you that path. This podcast is raw and unfiltered. I have not talked with the nurse practitioners in this podcast prior to the call outside of an email exchange to schedule the episode. What you're about to listen to is a consultation session between a nurse practitioner and myself. It is real, it is unscripted, it is unplanned, and I have no idea what we're going to talk about. Anything and everything can happen during our conversation. The nurse practitioners in these episodes are struggling with an issue in their professional or financial life, and they have reached out to me for help. My goal is to help the nurse practitioner with actionable advice that will enhance and improve their professional, business, and financial life. My other goal is to hopefully help my nurse practitioner sisters and brothers build a more productive, powerful, and free life. So I hope the content and information within these podcast episodes does just that. All right, onto the episode. Everyone, Justin Allen, the Elite Nurse Practitioner. Today's podcast is going to be about the non-negotiable principles of becoming a millionaire nurse practitioner. So I'm going to be talking about this at the Millionaire event in Dallas here in about a month or so. So this is going to be just a very brief summary of the lecture I'm going to give there at that Millionaire event. So, if you're interested in joining us at the Millionaire event, be sure to check that out. It's one of my favorite events of the year. Get to it's really intimate, 50 people, really get to help a lot of people. So it's a pretty cool event. But today I want to talk about the non-negotiable principles of becoming a millionaire nurse practitioner. All right. So these are non-negotiable, all right? You can't really deviate from these if you want to become a millionaire. Millionaires aren't built by just luck. Luck is a factor for sure, okay? I mean, I got lucky. There was a lot of things in my life that just worked out the way they worked out. Right place, right time, right solutions, etc. So there is always some luck involved with it. Some of the nurse practitioners that I know who built, $1 million practices, there's some luck involved there. They were just at the right place to offering the right service at the right time. People who got involved with the GLP-1 craze a couple years ago made a lot of money. That's just a lot of luck, right? But you tend to make your own luck, correct? You have to put yourself in a position where luck can happen. Luck just doesn't happen. It just doesn't fall out of the air unless you put yourself in a position for luck to actually occur. Correct. So to become a millionaire, you need to put yourself in as many situations as you possibly can that will facilitate luck on your side to help you become a millionaire. Okay. And, by that, I mean, essentially putting yourself out there, don't be a recluse, have multiple income streams, have multiple relationships with people, network with individuals, just put yourself out there. Don't be scared. Like I've talked about in the last couple of podcasts, don't let fear prevent you from putting yourself out there, because sometimes putting yourself out there is what facilitates the luck to actually happen. If you never put yourself out there, then the luck's just not going to happen, right? I mean, even if you want to, let's just say that you win the lottery, you don't just win the lottery. You still have to buy the ticket, right? So you still have to put yourself in that position for the luck to happen. That's what I mean. So always be putting yourself in positions to where luck can serve its purpose. All right. Most self-made millionaires get there by, some luck, obviously, but they follow systems. They are persistent. They don't give up. They don't stop. They don't let failure dictate uh, basically what's going to happen for the rest of their life. Failures are how you grow. I have failed a lot in my life. A lot. Okay. I couldn't even tell you how many failures I've had. I've had more failures than successes. That's no joke. That's not a lie. I've had a lot more failures than successes. But the thing is, though, is that those failures compound. And then when I did have a success, it was a real significant success. Okay. No one knows all the failures that were going behind the scenes in my life and in my business life and everything that was happening to me, as I, went from being an in debt nurse practitioner and a slave to the system to financially independent and with FU money, I can do whatever I want. People don't see those failures. They don't see what's going on behind the scenes. You don't see what's going on behind the scenes in Jeff Bezos' life or Elon Musk's life. Like, you don't see the bad going on. All you see is the good stuff. So realize that failure is going to be something that is part of the journey, and you cannot let failure get in the way. You cannot let it get to you, guys. You just got to brush it off and keep moving forward. Every single millionaire out there, especially multimillionaires, they have lots of failures in their life, and they learn from those and they move forward. Okay. Wealth is built by design, essentially, not by default. It just doesn't happen unless you're lucky enough to be a trust fund baby and a silver spoon in your mouth. But most of you listening to this aren't in that situation. I sure as hell wasn't in that situation. Okay. So many of you are still, are a lot like me. You didn't really grow up with a whole lot. Or if you did, maybe it was just more of a middle class kind of lifestyle, whatever. Your parents aren't really helping you all that much. So it's built. It just doesn't happen. Okay. So the luck and the failure component, remember that. All right. You have to put yourself out there to let luck actually happen. All right. When you hear people say, I got lucky, yeah, they got lucky, but they put themselves out there. Okay. So make sure you understand that. Don't ever say that someone just got lucky. That's bullshit. That is a cop out. That is you projecting your own insecurities and your own desires on someone else in a negative aspect. Most people just don't get lucky. They put themselves in a position for the luck to happen. So remember that. I think that that's probably one of the biggest critical principles that you need to understand if you want to become a millionaire, if you want to retire early, become financially independent. You have to put yourself in those positions. People just don't build a business and sell for $20 million from luck. Okay. Sure, there's luck involved, but they put themselves in that position. All right. So let's move on to some more, I guess, more objective, actionable principles that you need to know to become a millionaire. Okay. So number one is obviously you got to be your own boss. I mean, that's a no-brainer. You aren't going to see a lot of employed millionaires out there, guys. You're not going to see a lot of W-2 employee millionaires out there. They exist. Yes, there's plenty of them, actually. A CEO of a very large tech company, or, a COO or a vice president, or, people like that. They're W-2. I mean, I knew a cardiologist in Tennessee who made $1 million a year. He was a W-2 employee, though, still. How much money did he give up every year? 45%? Just gone, right? Foolish, all right? So you can become a millionaire being a W-2 employee, but most millionaires are not W-2 employees, okay? And the ones that are work their ass off, all right? Those are people putting in 60, 70, 80, 100-hour work weeks. Those are just corporate goons. Those are people that their job is their life. They have absolutely no life whatsoever. I'm not talking about that. I do not want anyone to live that kind of life because that life sucks. You want to look at this from a time and a money investment and a return on both your time and your money, right? You want to maximize the amount of money that you make with the least amount of time required, right? And some of these principles, more or less teach you how to do that. So you have to be your own boss. There's absolutely no question. If you are a nurse practitioner listening to this right now, and you are employed right now, working in an ER, an urgent care, or family practice, or whatever, and you're making $140,000 a year, whatever it is that you may be working, it is going to take you a very, very long time to amass $1 million. Okay? A very long time. You know, you might be making $140,000 a year after taxes. You see maybe 100 of it afterwards, right? And then you have all your living expenses and all that kind of stuff. Let's just say hypothetically you had no living expenses whatsoever. Maybe you had maybe you got a sugar daddy, something like that, or a sugar mama, whatever. And you don't have to, you don't have to pay for anything. Let's say you just save it all. It's going to take you 10 years to save $1 million. Next, you put it in the market, let it compound, etc. Probably only take you like 7 years, okay, if you invested it smartly. But still, right, that it takes a lot of time. I'm friends with nurse practitioners out there that own practices that make $1 million net profit a year, okay, a year. So that person is going to be able to retire fat way sooner than you're going to be able to retire being an employed nurse practitioner. It's just not going to happen. And if it does happen, it's going to take a decade or two, because $1 million isn't that much money anymore, guys. Unfortunately, you can't live off $1 million unless you're maybe 75 years old. Okay. If you're, probably middle age, most people listening to this are probably middle age, right? It's between the ages of 35 and 55. That's the majority of people who listen to this podcast and follow Lead MP. $1 million is nothing, guys. For you to retire comfortably, okay, and maintain a decent lifestyle, you probably, accounting for inflation and the way, the power of the dollar is decreasing, the purchasing power of the dollar is decreasing, you need probably at least $5 million. Like if you're 45, 50 years old right now, you need $5 million to retire comfortably. All right. And that's not going to happen working for someone else. So principle number 1, outside of the luck and learning from your failures and whatnot, be your own boss. That's a no-brainer. I'm sure most of you guys were going to probably, expecting me to say that, right? You got to be your own boss. Being a business owner offers unlimited scalability, essentially. All right. I mean, you have full control. So that's what you need to do to become a millionaire. Okay. So you got to be your own boss. There's no other way around it. All right. There just isn't, unless you just invest in the right thing at the right time and just get really, really lucky. Like if you invested $100,000 in Bitcoin 5 years ago, it's probably $1 million now. That's just that's luck. That's gambling, essentially. All right. Okay. So you got to be your own boss, but you have to build a business in a way where it works for you. You got to build a business that scales. Okay. So anyone can start a practice, but if you start a practice that's 100% reliant on you, you're just self-employed. Okay. It's going to be very hard to become a millionaire that way. I mean, it's going to be a lot easier than being employed by someone else for sure, because now all the money's yours. But you're still going to be a slave to your own business. You're just not going to have a whole lot of time for anything else. So you want a business that scales. All right. Selling your time is a way to stay broke, or selling your time is a way to live a life where the only thing that you have going on is your business. Basically, you're just tied to it. All right. If you sell solutions at scale, that's where you unlock financial freedom. And by that, I mean, you develop a business that works for you. You have employees. You develop a business that's generally passive in nature. You have subscription, recurrent income-based models in your business. Scaling a practice and building a multi-million-dollar portfolio is difficult. It's not impossible by any stretch of the imagination. Because I mean, if you build a business that generates, let's just say $1 to $2 million a year net, all right, you can sell that business for, give or take, let's just call it average $6 million, $6 million, give or take. Okay. After you pay taxes and all this kind of stuff, you might see 4 of that. So the way to become a multi-millionaire with a practice is to build it in a way where it works for you, and then you can sell it. All right. I mean, I do brokering on the side, so I sell practices on the side. It's just kind of like a little side hustle of mine because I really enjoy doing it. I like really truly seeing my clients get a huge paycheck, essentially. And yeah, that's how most of them become financially independent, is they end up selling their business. but they cannot sell it if it is not a business that is scalable and works for them. I've talked about that in other podcasts too, on how to build a business that you can sell. So check that podcast out. So you have to build a business that scales. All right. So that is principle number 2, essentially. Okay. You got to be your own boss. Number 1. Number 2, build a business that scales and that works for you. Critically important. Okay. I don't even bother opening a business now that's not scalable and that doesn't work for me. I don't even waste my time. I don't even consider it. I get offered business ideas all the time and partnership opportunities all the time. And it sounds like a job. I'm not interested in a job. I'm interested in a business that works for me. Okay. If it doesn't work for me, I'm not wasting my time. All right. So that's the mindset you need to develop. Critically important if you want to be a millionaire. All right. Okay. So principle number 3 is your money must be working for you. You don't park cash in the bank. It is always being invested and always working for you. All right. It blows my mind how many NPs out there who have businesses that are doing very well and they have $200,000 sitting in their business account. That is stupid. Like, I'm just going to just be straight up. That is just stupid. You should have the minimum amount of money in your bank accounts at any given time. All right. Personal and business. Minimum amount. Okay. 3 months of living expenses. Okay. Maybe 6. All right. That's about how much money you should have in the bank at any given time. Now, if you're a little bit more conservative in nature, sure, you can maybe have 12 months, but that money should be at least in a high yield savings account or in a CD or something like that. But honestly, I feel like that for the most part, you should have about 3 months of living expenses in the bank and then have another 6 or 12 months in some short-term treasury bills. That way you're at least making 4%. All right. So that way, at least it's working for you. I mean, investing in short-term treasuries, guys, is the same thing as cash, essentially. You can liquidate those things instantaneously. All right. So yeah, that's what I mean. Minimum amount of money in the bank. Your money needs to be working for you at all times, and your business money too. You don't want to have a lot of money in your business bank account unless you are planning on some sort of growth implementation or something. Okay. Let's say you're wanting to maybe expand your practice. Yeah, sure. You're probably gonna need maybe the $100,000 in your business bank account to invest back into your business. Okay, but just having it sit there, it's stupid. All right. So never park your cash. Your money needs to be working for you at all times. It compounds, guys. You have money coming in from your business, right? And then your money that is invested is working for you as well. Those two things combined, all right. That's how you build real significant wealth. I have a client right now. I'm selling his practice. And I'm probably going to sell his practice for about $7 million, give or take. And he has generated, $1 million plus a year in his practice over the last few years. And he's invested a lot of that with, some mentorship from me. And his portfolio is close to $3 million at this point. And so he's invested it in a way where it generates about 5 or 6%. So, I mean, the guy's making $150,000 a year from his portfolio alone. All right. And his business is generating $1 million a year. All right. That compounds. Okay. He invests his money, doesn't let it sit in his bank account because it's dumb to do that. All right. So keep that in mind. Invest that money. All right. Millionaires allocate capital. They don't allocate hours. They don't allocate their time. They don't allocate hours to their business. They allocate their income, their capital. Okay. So three buckets of investment, essentially. Okay. Business reinvestment. You invest money back into your business so it grows, which is what you need to be doing. Okay. You don't build $1 million business by not reinvesting money back in your business. That just doesn't happen. I've talked about that in so many other podcasts before. I'm not going to go over what reinvesting your business means. All right. So remember that. You have to reinvest money back into your business for it to grow. In my opinion, probably the first year or so of your business, you really shouldn't be paying yourself much of anything at all. All the money that you make should be reinvested right back in the business so it scales and grows. And then that way, after a year or two, now the business is working for you and it's generating significant income. All right. Market reinvestments, that's putting money in the stock market, basically buying bonds, buying, ETFs, REITs, etc. Okay. And then the other investment is cash flowing assets. So that could be dividend stocks, dividend paying index funds, bonds again, and rental real estate, basically. All right. I hope everyone's enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick break to thank everyone listening and also give a big thank you to all of my social media followers and email subscribers. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our email list at www.elitenp.com and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Email subscribers will receive updates on new weekly podcast episodes, multiple weekly articles we publish, new courses, and everything else related to helping you succeed. Remember, all Elite Nurse Practitioner courses are designed to help you build a niche practice, increase your financial strength, and to break free from the rat race. If I can break free and the other countless nurse practitioners can break free, then so can you. Additionally, please share this podcast with your other nurse practitioner sisters and brothers out there. The more NPs that venture out on their own, the stronger our profession will become. Now, let's get back to the episode. I'm not a huge fan of rental real estate right now, not in this market. There's very few deals out there. I mean, you can still find them, but it's very difficult to make any kind of significant profit with real estate right now. If you buy right now, you're buying basically at the top of the market. And, how much more can real estate really appreciate right now? It's so overvalued right now, guys. There's a reason why this has been like the last 3 months have been like the slowest months in real estate in like 20 years. There's a reason, because no one can afford it. It's just it's overpriced. It's out of reach for most people. So therefore, okay, this is supply and demand. This is basic economics. If no one's buying, then the prices have to drop down so people begin buying it. All right. And we're seeing that in a lot of markets right now. Sellers are just dropping the prices of their house. I just sold my last piece of rental real estate. I had about 10 properties or something like that. And I've sold them all off over the last couple of years. And I just sold my last one. Thank God. It's been on the market for like 6 months. I had to drop the price by like $35,000, $40,000. I'm taking a loss on it. Like, it sucks, but I want it gone. Okay. So that's what's happening all over the market. It's happening all over the country. Prices are going down, and they're going to go down until the market stabilizes. And then they might go up, but they're not going to go up any kind of significant manner. If you bought real estate in 2019, 2020, you made a ton of money in the last few years. That's not going to happen again for at least another decade, probably. All right. So just keep that in mind if you're if you're interested in investing in real estate. Okay. So principle number 3 was your money must work for you. Okay. So principle number 1, be your own boss. Principle number 2, build a business that scales and works for you. Principle number 3, your money must work for you at all times. All right. At all times. Like, I'm at the point in my life where even the decorations in my house work for me. Like, I have just developed a mindset where I do not spend my money on stuff unless I am going to get my money back at some point, or I'm going to get somewhat of a return on it. Now, obviously, I'm not like a complete miser. I mean, I own a $300,000 supercar. That's not going to appreciate. I'm probably going to lose money on that, but I plan on never selling it. Like, I bought that. That's my baby. I'm not selling that. I'm not selling my badass Bronco either. Like, cars don't really appreciate very well unless you buy a really badass car and you just let it sit in your garage and you just put a few miles on it. All right. So you don't have to be a complete miser here, but for the most part, like at my office right now, like if you're watching this on video, like these pots and these arrowheads and all the stuff that I have in my office, like this stuff costs money. I found a lot of it myself too, but this stuff costs money. But like, this pot right here, if you're looking, if you're watching it, like that pot right there is worth about $1,000, and it's just going to sit there on my shelf. I'll probably never sell it, and then when I die and my kids get rid of all my stuff, they'll probably be able to sell that pot for $5,000, right? So you can either buy cool stuff like that, or you can buy shit from Ross or TJ Maxx. It's up to you. Okay, so develop that kind of mindset where everything that you buy, the stuff in your house, has some kind of value. It's not consumer garbage. Okay, it's not just consumer garbage. So let's go to principle number 4 then, avoid consumer traps. Okay, millionaires aren't millionaires because they spend, it's because they invest their money. All right, they spend their money on stuff that's going to provide a return. Okay. There's an old saying, having a big cowboy hat but no cattle. That's fake rich, right? I see people driving around in, $150,000 Ford, Raptors or whatever. And I look, these people can't afford that. I mean, sure, they got approved for the loan, but that doesn't mean anything. They still can't afford that. They were living paycheck to paycheck. It's fake rich. All right. Millionaires aren't fake rich. They don't fake rich. Okay. People who want to look rich, they fake rich. Okay. There's a big difference between looking rich and actually being rich. Sometimes I'm walking around the grocery store and I look like a slob. I'm wearing gym shorts and a tank top and a backwards hat. Like, people have no clue. They hear me talk. They're like, that guy sounds like a dumbass. Yeah, whatever though. Like, I don't care. Right. So don't project cash flow, fake cash flow. Okay. Protect cash flow and delay gratification. By that, I mean, if you want to be a millionaire, then you need your money working for you as much as possible, and you need to delay impulsivity and delay gratification. I didn't buy a really badass house until probably about, let's see, it's 2025. Maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago is when I bought my first like really cool house. Before that, it was okay. It was a 3-bedroom, very modest, $300,000 home, right? I just drove a truck. I just drove like a 1500. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have these toys in this badass house 3 years ago. I didn't have that because I was letting my money work for me, and it got to a point where then I could buy those things, but I'm not faking rich, right? So remember that. Okay, avoid consumer traps. Avoid being sucked in to being with the Joneses kind of a thing. All right, because I'll tell you guys right now, when you're driving around in a badass car, no one really gives a shit. They just don't. Oh, they look at that car and they're like, I wish I had one of those. They look at you though, they don't care. Okay, no one's impressed. So just remember that, right? Most millionaires don't fake rich. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, principle number 5: multiple income streams. Okay, you need to have as many income streams as you possibly can. The more income streams that you have, the more stable you are. Okay, the more redundancies you have in your financial life. So most millionaires that I know have at least 3 to 7 income streams at any given time, right? Me personally, right now, I have, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 income streams right now. Okay. And they don't really require much of my time because they're built in a way where they work for me. So I have 5 income streams right now personally. Okay. A few businesses and a couple investments. So most millionaires have multiple income streams. If you're listening to this right now and you only have one income stream, which is your job, then you need to get off your ass and do something about that. You need to start another business. You need to be investing in some dividend, income assets, something. If you're listening to this and you're already, if you already have a practice that generates $500,000 or $1 million a year, and that's all you have, you need to get off your ass and figure out what else you need to be investing in so you have multiple income streams, you have multiple redundancies, okay? Your primary income stream should be your business or couple businesses. Your secondary should be your investments, okay? Your tertiary should be more or less, real estate. Maybe if you have some like intellectual property, that kind of thing. Most of you guys probably won't have that sort of stuff. So it's going to be basically primary and secondary income streams, okay? Your business and your investments, all right? So keep that in mind. Have as many income streams as you possibly can if you want to be a millionaire, okay? So I have a list here. I'm going to go, I'm going to be talking about at the Millionaire Conference. I don't want to go over all this stuff because this podcast could probably last 2 hours. So I'm hitting the things that I feel like are probably the most important. So let's just say the last principle here for this podcast is leverage and delegation. Okay. To build a business that scales and grows, all right, you can't do everything yourself. It's impossible. You need to be okay with delegating tasks to other people. You need to be able to leverage other people. You need to be able to leverage automations and software. You need to be able to leverage your capital, your money. All right. A lot of people who start their own business, especially nurse practitioners for some reason with their practices, they're extremely hesitant about giving up responsibility to other people. They want to run it all. They want to do the whole thing themselves. And listen, if you're in that, if you're in that boat, I get it. I've been there. You got to let go if you want a business that works for you. Okay. You will not become a millionaire if your business is 100% reliant on you. It's just not going to happen. Sure, there are cases where it can happen, okay, but you're going to be working your ass off. You're going to have no time for anything else in most cases, unless you have an extreme luck factor involved, all right? But let's just be realistic here. For the most part, you need to be able to delegate tasks to other people because you're not going to build $1 million business by yourself if you want to maintain your sanity, all right? So delegate low value tasks first. So if you have a practice and you're hesitant about delegating work to other people, delegate the low value stuff. Delegate the stuff that, while it's important, it's not that important. Okay. It's not like something that you're gonna get sued over. It's a liability or something like that. Low value tasks, answering the phone, ordering supplies, putting orders into the computer, uploading labs into the chart, stuff like that, right? Low value task stuff. Start there, then get comfortable with it, and then start delegating higher and higher and higher tasks. For my men's health clinic, I've delegated literally everything. I don't do anything anymore. I have office manager. I have other providers. Took a couple years to get there, but that's where it was. Okay. So delegate tasks to other people. You have to be okay with that. All right. It's very hard to become a millionaire by yourself. So it's more of it's a team effort, but you get all the upside. Like, that's the beautiful thing about being a business owner. It's a team effort, but you're the one that gets to enjoy the fruits of war, so to speak. Okay. So leverage other people, leverage automations in your business, and by all means, leverage your money. Reinvest the money back into your business. Okay. Very, very, very important. So those are the top principles in my mind on what you need to know to be a millionaire. And like I said, I'm going to go over some more at the Millionaire Conference. I just don't have time to cover all this over, a 2-hour podcast. So remember, principle number 1, be your own boss. Okay. Don't be self-employed. Have your own business that works for you. Okay. So build a business that scales. Principle number 2, a business that's scalable, that grows, that works for you. Principle number 3, your money must be working for you at all times. Okay. Do not park cash. It needs to always be invested. All right. Principle number 4, multiple income streams. Okay. Have redundancies, have multiple income streams. Strive to have 3 income streams in the next year. All right. And those income streams don't have to be crazy. They could be something, just maybe you have $100,000 in your, in your brokerage account, spending off $7,000 a year. Well, guess what, guys? That's $500 a month, basically. Okay. It's spinning off something, right? Maybe it pays your car payment or something like that. Okay. So multiple income streams. All right. Avoid consumer traps. Principle number 5, avoid consumer traps. Do not allow impulsivity and gratification get the best of you. All right. Millionaires don't fake rich. Okay. You want to be rich. Don't fake rich. If you're not rich yet, don't try to make it look like you are, because no one gives a shit. Nobody cares. When I hit probably about 39, this happens to a lot of people who hit about 40, in their 40s or whatever. They end up just not caring anymore. They don't give a shit what people think of them. That happened a little bit younger, for me. But no one gives a shit about you guys. So don't give a shit about what they think. So remember that, okay? Live frugally. Invest your money. And then you don't have to fake rich. You can actually be rich, okay? And then final principle, leverage and delegation. Leverage the work of others, leverage automations, leverage your capital, delegate work to other people. You cannot do this by yourself. It's very, very difficult to do it by yourself, guys. All right. So keep that in mind. So those are the principles. Ingrain this stuff into your mindset. If you want to be a millionaire, you have to change the way you think. You have to change the way you view money. You have to change the way you view your time. You have to change the way you see the world in terms of looking for opportunity. Because there's opportunity all around you, and most people never see it. They just don't. They go to work and they're ready to go home to, watch Netflix and eat a hamburger. Like, that's most people. They have no inclination nor any desire to look for opportunity. Okay. A millionaire is always looking for opportunity, right? I mean, I'm essentially retired at this point, financially independent, but I'm still looking for opportunity. I still do. I can't help it. Like, it's just part of who I am now, right? So you need to shift your mindset. View money as a resource to give you back your time, essentially. Okay. To allow you view money as your ticket to time freedom, right? And your time is extremely valuable, and look for opportunities. So you have to change your mindset if you want to be a millionaire. Most millionaires that I know are a different breed of people. And when you develop that mindset, I hate to say this, this isn't a blanket statement by any stretch of the imagination, but when you develop that millionaire mindset, it's kind of difficult to relate to, I don't know if you want to, just normal people. Like, I know these are just real generalizations, but it's difficult to relate to, I guess, the normal Jack and Jill, right? Your mindset shifts, and you realize when you start talking to just normal people, and I'm doing normal in quotation marks here, okay? You're just at a different place in your mind. You're at a different level, and it's hard to develop a real deep relationship with, I guess, normal people, so to speak. I know this is applicable to me and many other people that I know who have this kind of mindset. And so you end up becoming friends with people who have that mindset. So then what happens? So now you're friends with other millionaires or people who have that millionaire mindset. And then what happens? You guys start feeding ideas off of each other, and you start networking, you start doing partnerships and investments together and that kind of stuff. And then you become even more rich. All right. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right. Now, like I said, I don't know, this isn't a blanket statement. I obviously have friends who don't have this mindset. You know what I mean? But we have a common interest, fishing or something. You know what I mean? But still, though, there's still something lacking there compared to the people that I know who have that millionaire mindset. So, just be aware of that. When you develop that mindset, your life's going to change in a very positive fashion, but there will be some parts of you that do get lost. So kind of keep that in mind. Okay. So those are the principles of becoming a millionaire, essentially. All right. They're non-negotiable. They aren't. You can't just pick and choose these things. Like, those are non-negotiable. All right. Okay. If anyone wants to be on the podcast, please email me, justin@elitenp.com. And, basically it's a free consultation, but it's just recorded. And yeah, I hope to see many of you at the Millionaire event in Dallas here in about a month. So, all right. Talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye. Thank you for listening to the show. Quick legal disclaimer. The content of this podcast is meant for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be used as legal, financial, medical, regulatory, or practice-specific advice. For information pertaining to your specific legal, financial, medical, or practice-specific needs, please be sure to consult with your lawyer, CPA, medical director, and or your state's practice laws and the most up-to-date clinical guidelines. As always, do your due diligence when it comes to any information found online and in podcasts. The content in this podcast is copyrighted by Galaxy Medical Southwest 2023 and cannot be duplicated, rebroadcasted, or reproduced without our written permission.